I expect you guys recognize these two, so I don't really need to introduce them, but I will, obviously. This is Ken Palmer, County Commissioner, Seth Crawford, County Commissioner. So we're going to get through this. Right? These guys have been sitting here patiently listening to these other windbags. Just saying.
I don't think you guys talk that much at all. I don't want to be winky.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. Okay, guys, like I said before, everybody has a reason for being here for running. Why don't you tell us what your reason for running is? We're going to ask you to stand. People couldn't see back there. I thought they were talking about me, but it was the other guy. So, go ahead.
Good. Yeah. So I guess we're going to start with that, and I will stand. We're going to see us. We'll try to keep doing that all evening. It just seems to make sense. So I am running for your county judge. I've been the commissioner for 8 years. I've enjoyed every day, and that's kind of why I got started with this, is that it was something so diverse. Every day you're working with multiple departments and issues, and you're meeting folks that you probably never thought you could meet. But you're also making decisions that make such differences in the community. I look forward to continuing a vision that I think I've had for many years, and that is just making this a safe community for my family, my children, my grandchildren now, a third one on the way. It's just where I want to be. I've grown here all my life, have businesses here in town. I've been very successful at that, but at this time, this is really what I want to do. So I think that sets me apart at this time.
Thank you. Seth.
Good evening, everyone. Like Ken said, my name is Seth Crawford. One of the things I enjoy most in my life is helping people and solving problems. And that's why I first decided to run for county commissioner. I saw an opportunity in our community to work with the different elected officials and entities around the county to come up with a vision for the future of our county. So in the 6 years that I've been commissioner, there's things I have, problems I have solved. If it's as small as changing a voicemail so somebody doesn't get, or a number system so Colleen, our secretary, doesn't get calls from every different department so she can get some of her work done, to just different things, efficiencies around the county. There's things that I haven't solved yet, like long-term budget planning and the way we review our department heads. And that's a big reason I'm moving on to judge, because I think Crook County needs a leader that's willing to stand up and take Crook County, make Crook County a more professional county. We deserve more than the status quo. We deserve a county that's working every day to be a little more efficient, a little more transparent, and a little more effective.
Thank you. So the next question for you is, which of the departments will you personally oversee? And in those departments specifically, what improvements can you make to create great working relationships there?
You know, I think each one of our departments is integral in our community. You know, clearly the road department touches more people than anybody else in the community. You have the community development department that's also very important. I think those are two of the important ones, but to me, again, it's the bigger picture of our county. I'm interested in running once I sit down with the court that is formed, once I'm elected, I think we can all work together well and come up with each person's strengths. But as the judge, I think you need to be a leader looking forward into the future and looking at what decisions you need to make sure that those departments are running best. It may start sounding like a broken record up here, but long-term budget planning and the way we review our department heads. Long-term budget planning, I've worked with Steve Forrester at the city for 4 years now. We've even had the budget committee tell the court to move ahead with this, and it has not happened. So, as soon as I get in there, I'm going to pursue that. Reviewing our department heads. Right now, we sit down with our department heads and we just have a conversation with them. What we need to do is set up goals at the beginning of the year, look halfway through the year how those goals are going, and at the end of the year, decide have those goals been met, and why or why not were they met, and then decide what we need to do. And I'm not sitting here saying that our employees don't work very hard. We have extremely hardworking employees that truly care about giving service to our community. But everybody can be a little bit better if you give them an opportunity and parameters in which to learn and thrive.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. What county departments will you directly oversee, and what improvements can you make to develop great relationships? Did I get that out? Okay.
So, yes, we started about departments that I would oversee. I oversee many departments today, and those, of course, we have the bigger hitters. The road department is one key. The sheriff department, public safety, is probably as large as well. And we have many others, of course. The planning, the development department that is stressed so much right now. I think we've said this last couple of weeks this month, they've done 150 inspections. How do you get 40 a day? How do you possibly do that with the 4 people that are out there every day? It's becoming a little overwhelming. The departments that I work with are the health departments. I'm very involved in our health department, which has done wonderful things. In the last couple of years, they were also named the Small Health Department of the Year by the National Association of Counties. We were the first to be certified through the nation. We were probably out of 3,000 health departments. There are now only 200 who have that certification. So we've done a lot of work through our health department, but we've done that regionally, and so that's a place where I work very seriously. I'm the chair of the Wellness and Education Board for Central Oregon, and that includes 3 counties. That includes our education portion is the High Desert ESD. We oversee early learning dollars, we oversee the Medicaid dollars, and the behavioral health dollars. And that goes directly back to Pineville. So the health department is key to our business, but again, we have 23 departments. The growth of the airport. I know it's a city-run, managed airport, but it also has my work as a liaison with the airport. We've gone just a year or 2 ago with 3 employees, and now we're over 30 employees. And we're working on another expansion, which will be Hell Base, Air Training Center for the U.S. Forest Service on that airport. We also just received a $3.6 million grant between the FAA and the Connect Oregon to expand that airport, to get it to a level where it has a safe start, new fueling system, and there's just stories about every department. And I'm running out of time.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead and stay up there, because I have a follow-up question on that. It sounds like that people have great working relationships in the county, but what would you do to make sure that there is a good working relationship with the other commissioners?
Well, we've had some issues around that, and I don't want it to continue. I think that there is a great opportunity for us to work together. And when I look at counties that do work together, they just gain so much more. Umatilla County has 3 very strong commissioners and have had for 25 years. And they've had some changes this last 10 years, or 3 years actually, the last 2, have changed with senior folks in their community. Retired superintendent of schools is a new commissioner there. There's one who was a history teacher for many years. And one who now, Bill Hensel is the senator now for that region. Stepped out, and they've had another replacement for that position as well. But we look at many of these counties that have good relationships with 3 county commissioners working equally. Usually it has nothing to do with the compensation, almost in every case. They're always, they're not vying for that fight, for that position, for that extra time. And what do you call a part-time person? That's been very hard for this position. I just worked as many hours as there are in the day, and that's my part-time commitment. But that isn't every commissioner, and it hasn't been in the past. It's not just this this commission has been the past commissions as well. I would think there's better ways for us to work together. We would be dividing our departments up much more equally. We would be expecting from each other reports, which I believe is just common sense. I know we talk about long-term budget. We have done some very good steps in that as well, and that's just another part for our being a team and not being in a struggle each day.
Thank you, Ken. Seth, same question.
What's the question again?
What would you do to create great working relationships with the other two commissioners?
You know, I think it comes down to respect, and I think it comes down to understanding that when you just disagree with someone in a court meeting, it's not a personal vendetta against that person. It's just a difference in opinion. And I've tried to help hold myself at that standard my entire time as county commissioner, and I would continue to do that. I think too often people get their feelings hurt when people disagree in court over issues, and they continue that unhappiness into the day-to-day operations of the county. You know, I consider the job, it's called a part-time job. I claim full-time job, part-time pay. I am consistently out in the community and consistently working to better the county. I'm consistently thinking every day of different things we can do to make Crook County a better place, make it more efficient, make it more accountable, and make it better for the community.
Thank you. If you see me throwing a question away out one of those, it's because it's probably pretty much an answer already, so I'm not going to repeat. These guys are agonizing already. So Seth, why don't you just stay up there? When the Crook County Natural Resources Plan is again presented to the court, what processes will you want to have it go through before being accepted?
You know, I think it should be accepted as a policy. I don't think there's any reason for it to go through the planning commission. I think if you look at the other communities that have adopted this, they have gone and adopted it as a policy. And I think we just heard earlier Jerry Bromer talking to the BLM person in Baker, saying that it's actually improved their relationship. We recently had a meeting talking about the coordination and what that looked like for Crook County. And Carol Gronkowski, the head of the BLM here locally, came and said, you know, this is a catastrophe. It'll bring up all kinds of conflict. And it was clear that she was not for the plan. Later in the meeting, I asked her specifically, what examples of conflict have you seen in Baker County where this has been adopted? And she said, well, the plan, this. And I said, no, I understand how you feel about the plan. Specifically, what have you seen in Baker County? And she said, well, I haven't seen any conflicts. So I think again and again, there's examples of communities that are pursuing this, and it's been good for the community, and it's been good for the federal agencies as well. So to me, we need to be using anything in our toolbox to be able to push access to our public lands and to our natural resources.
Thank you. Ken, same question.
Yeah, I know that Carol she had statements about Baker County, but she said she really didn't know if they had any trouble with that or not. That was a comment, and not that there wasn't any.
She hadn't heard.
She had investigated, hadn't called her BLM people and talked to them. But I think Jerry did, and I think it was really good for Jerry to take the time to go to Baker and take the time to go also into Idaho, and then I heard again a couple nights ago about Modoc County in California. Every county has different land use laws, and Oregon is one of the toughest ones. So we're going to be a little different than some of the others, but we can align, and I believe there is an alignment here somewhere that we can work this through. But we have models with Wallowa County. Wallowa's been doing this since the early 90s, and they were first. And then after that came in Baker. But they aligned also with what Wallowa is, according to the people from both counties I talked to. if we go to Wallowa County, it has always aligned with their comp plan. So that's the plan they use every day, so we don't have two different plans. And that's been my worry, that we would have someone coming in and having a conflict, and we would end up having litigation over this conflict. And there's no reason for that. And I think that most counties have been able to make that work. But if we go to the Association of Counties, which I'm on the Lands Committee, they're really, this is an east side thing. It's not something in the southern part of the state, it's nothing in the west side of the state to work through this process. We're pretty new to it, even though they've had a couple counties, Wallowa and Baker, have been in the business for quite a while. Now, I've been working on a forest collaborative group, and there are some problems with that too, because you've got a lot of people and a lot of voices, and it's thought of differently. But it's starting to really make traction, and this will align with that. I don't think that this is wrong, and we should be able to work our way through both. But we are cutting quite a bit more timber now than we had in the last 5 years, and we have goals to do much more very soon.
Thank you. Okay, but again, we'll go ahead and stay up there. The concern about the lack of information, what's getting out to the people, it just seems it reverberates. We sat down a few years ago and said, we'd like to see more transparency. We did the Wednesday night report. That's a great success, wasn't it?
No.
Just kidding. And so getting people informed and getting people out is definitely a difficult thing. What kind of things do you think the court could work on? Even though you've addressed some of it through media, what can you do?
A roundup sounds good. I thought about that. We do not subscribe to roundup. And there are a lot of people who read that. It would be a simple thing for us to do. They're the least expensive cost we probably have right there with Facebook or with other media on the internet. But it's a difference of age. Everyone is getting their information differently. My kids, they don't read the paper, or if they do, they read it with their computer in the morning. They don't watch the TV as I do in the morning. I flip it on as I get up to take a shower, and I'm watching Channel 6 or I'm watching the Channel 5 news in bed. I'm getting that information before I get my paper. Then I'm reading the paper, then I'm buying a bulletin magazine or Central Oregonian, and once in a while I get around. Other people are just on their electronic phones. When you watch them go to an airport, people don't even talk to each other anymore. And they do that because they have some other instant gratification and knowledge. It's very quickly. So I think at this point it's just it's a shotgun approach, and we will continue doing as far as we can. You mentioned something about our meeting in the evening, thinking that might be better, and I believe we whittled it down to 3 people might show up, average, and it would cost us 9 people's wages to do the program, to get them there and have our court. Even just once a month, we couldn't get the folks to come. And I know that because it's tough for young families or older folks who are tired or they can't drive at night. There's all those reasons that it's harder to get out in the evening as well.
Thank you very much. Seth, same question.
When it comes to getting the word out to the community, I think we try really hard. We try and put the information out in as many publications as we can. I'm always willing to look at new options. But I think it goes back to having a leader as county judge. You need somebody out there in the community, spending time with the people in our community, having conversations. I go to probably 10 plus events a week and talk to people. If it's a sporting event, if it's an auction, if it's a birthday, who knows? I'm out there. I have a theory. I think there's 2 different types of problems that are out in the community. There's small and medium problems, and there's large problems. Small and medium problems will eventually turn into large problems if they're not addressed. So what I try and do is be in the community and spend time with the people and say, what are your issues? They don't have time to come out and come to my office for a small and medium problem. So what I do is I talk to them and I hear about those. A lot of times it ends up being misinformation, or somebody just fell through the cracks. Just recently we had a gentleman come who had a mix-up at the planning department, had been promised money to be returned to him, a portion of his fees returned to him. The information never got in, and I'm not saying it was malicious, it just never got through. And I sat down with this gentleman, and he said, I am furious. I've been waiting for 6 years, or 5 years to get this money. And I said, well, let me go get into it for you. If I would have had that contact with him, maybe that wouldn't have come to fruition, and he'd still be out there stewing and explode on somebody later on a small issue. So I think what it takes is a leader who's willing to go out in our community, spend time, and respect our citizens by saying it's part of my job to reach out to you, not that you have to come to me every time. You're busy, you're working, and you've got a lot of things going on in your life. It shouldn't have to be you. It shouldn't have to always be you coming to me. I think as a leader, you need to be out there.
Thank you. Kim, this is for you. Pardon? Here you go. You want to go again? I'm just rotating back and forth. This one was for Kim, actually, specifically for Kim. How many people have you managed in your career?
Well, I had 2 parts stores, probably no more than 15 or 17 people that were actually under my employ. But then, of course, this last 8 years, almost 200 people. Is that?
That's pretty simple. That's only like 9 seconds.
Well, I can go on. They're great people. You want to hear about them, their families, or something?
I'll take that right for the rest of the minute and a half.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the most important parts of being a leader and being the judge in Crook County. And that's why I think it's so important that we start looking at the way we are managing our department. As we continue to preface this, that we have very, very good employees. But if we can find ways to make them more efficient and to give better service to our community, I think we need to do that. And that's why I've worked in the past to get this implemented. It never happened, but again, I think if we had to court with new commissioners, I think from the people running here today, I'd at least have one more vote to get that through to professionalize the county. So I think what we need to do is look and give each employee the best opportunity they have to thrive and enjoy their job.
Okay. I'm going.
Did I use more than just like you took?
No, you're good. You're good. So my next question was, as judge, what is the value of brevity? The value of brevity? You guys know what brevity is? Somebody had whatever. So what is the value of succinct?
Can you spell that?
Yeah, I do the definition. Okay. So anyway, you're done, Sam. So we're going to go on with another question. You can sit down, Seth.
Can I Google it?
So, okay, now we're entering the comedy section of the forum, and for the next 5 minutes we'll just laugh. So we're going to go ahead. Listen, guys, you guys have been all over the county talking to people. Lots of meetings. They spend a lot of time away from home, hearing what people have got to say. Tell me what they're telling you about what they want and what they need. Go ahead.
Top things I'm hearing are natural resources and jobs. And I'm just going to throw in there professionalization of the county as well. Because I think those are the 3 most important things facing our community right now. And I read in the Central Oregonian recently about the 15 million board feet that is a possibility of coming out of the ocean coast in the future. And I think that's great. It's important that we look and continue to work. But even if every single one of those logs was a marketable log, we would not be able to start a mill with that. So it would not change the general employment from natural resources. There would be a slight uptick. And that's why I think we need the natural resources plan, because I think that's the additional scheme that we need to push and work with the federal government and work on the system that we're dealing with. The system's broken. If you look at somebody that buys a timber sale, they need to put skin in the game. They need to bond themselves and they need to put money out. Where an environmentalist that wants to come in, all they need to do is buy a 39-cent stamp. And then the government picks up the bill for their legal issues. And that's not fair. So we need to work through coordination and through our federal agencies and find ways to uptick that harvest of our trees.
Thank you. Well, that was brief, for just exercise of brevity.
I was just joking, I knew it.
I know.
Okay, what we hear in our community is that we did a survey, and it was a year or so ago, and we did a strategic plan around that survey, and it had to do with three things that the public continually talk about. It was jobs, and it was our housing, and it was crime. And those are things that we do as a county. We work in all these situations. We also work with the federal folks, and that's why I'm with the Force Collaborative, and we're going to continue talking about this resource plan. But honestly, we're doing a lot with our sheriff's office and through the Citizens Committee trying to get this jail in place. That jail is going to take a huge load off of this community, and it is so important to us. I am elected, I can say, yes, I will vote for that. But it didn't just come easily, and it came with years of saving money. The county is putting in probably close to $3 million out of savings towards this. Those are dollars that came from selling a piece of property on the hill over here. We were very, very careful with that money, long-term planning again. So now here we have these dollars that will go towards that jail. We also are spending money, and those dollars are going to be able to pay for the operations of that jail for many years. We have that within the dollars we have today. So feel really good about the crime side of it. I think we've done a good job. I think if you look back 4 or 5 years ago, 20% unemployment was pretty common here. And it was a scary time. The city, the county, all of us working together said these are our targets, and one of which is getting more jobs. We reached out, we asked the state to help us, we took some chances, we gave some credits, but look what we have today. We have many more jobs. We're down to 5% unemployment, and now our next trouble is because of all this extra labor, the extra jobs, the contractors. We have a housing issue. So things just keep moving all the time. We're going to continue having a housing issue until we make, I guess the time will tell, and it isn't really the county's job to build these homes, but it is our job to help enable folks through our planning and our building departments, and really look at our budget on how we can help at least the lower end housing. And I had quite a few conversations with Bill Zelenka, our planning director, and he's wanting to put in our next budget at least some kind of a line that we would then save a few dollars ahead, or add $1 to a permit, or start to save a few things so we could add that back as an incentive to do these lower cost housing construction sites with less SDC costs. Maybe a pie in the sky for us to do that, but when we're so busy, there should be ways for us to save back a few dollars that would help some of those homes to be built.
Thank you. Thank you. You realize somebody out there is timing this, and at the end of the night, there's going to be this huge report. Our moderator, did this LinkedIn.
No signs.
Yeah. So, I've gotten 4 general requests for more information on the natural resource plan. This one cuts to the chase. It actually says, when it's brought back to the court as a policy statement, how will you vote? Very simple.
Yes.
No, we will work on it. We'll put it in with the other plan, and I will vote for it. But I would want it to be with our comp plan that we have today. And it'll take us a little bit longer, but we'll make that work.
Thanks, Ken. Okay, so how many people have given you a pocket constitution in the last 6 months? Probably a few.
One.
One?
Yeah.
Did I miss you? Did I give it to you?
Colleen was pushing one of my buttons.
Oh, no, good for her. God bless you. So look, the people have been, all across this country are talking about the value of the Constitution and how it affects governance. And I just wanted to ask a question about how much weight do you give to the citizens' desires that the Constitution, and the Oregon Constitution as well, that affects you guys probably quite a bit. How much weight do you give to their concern about the Constitution being adhered to and followed? And you can start, Ken.
Well, the Constitution is how we are driven, is what we take our oath. We follow the laws. We may not know all about all the amendments to the Constitution because it did change in many ways and years. And I'm probably the worst one here to know every part of that. But I, like Jerry Rummer, buried 36 years, there's one of them that I had, is my own personal Constitution. And there's other things that we have is that just in our heart that we do best for our community. And that's part of the Constitution as well. It is a huge piece of what we do. I think we're all honorable people, and I believe that's really what the bottom line is. You can believe in what we say.
Okay. Thank you very much. Seth, second question.
Thank you. To me, it comes down to the point of a republic versus a democracy. And the fact that if you've got 3 people in the room in a republic, you've still got to back up those inalienable rights that are provided by the Constitution. If you've got 3 people in a room in a democracy, they can change their mind about the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and 2 against 1, they can just kill the other guy. And I think that's what it comes down to, is protecting that those inalienable rights that are provided to us. It's not, the citizenry should not be able to decide what is right and wrong. They should be able to decide the best way we follow those inalienable rights which are set forth in the Constitution.
Thank you. Okay, so this one goes along with my last question, but it comes from the folks, so I'm going to ask it anyway. If you are elected judge, what will be your biggest priority? And I'm going to add to that. When are you going to start on it?
Twofold. I think the natural resources plan, as well as long-term budget planning. I think I've made it clear where I stand on the natural resources plan. Well, probably on both. But when it comes to long-term budget planning, the city of Prineville right now is doing a budget that is leaps and bounds better than what the county's doing. We don't waste money, and that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about long-term budget planning. What I'm talking about is looking down the road and looking at what decisions we make today and what that means for the future. So if we're going to hire somebody, so what the city has is they have a model that they're able to put an expenditure that they're planning on making into this model, and it'll show them down the line what that expenditure means in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. And so then when they make that decision to move forward with it, before they make that decision to move forward with that, then they understand where that's going to take their budget, and they understand that they either need to find more money or spend less money in order to get that done. They don't just make a decision and hope in the next year that more money comes in from taxes and when they can pay for it. And so to me, it's imperative that we do long-term budget planning in order to spend your money, your tax dollars, as efficiently as possible.
Thank you. Ken? What is your biggest priority as judge to be elected, and when will you start on it?
Well, I think we've all talked a little bit about the jail. Of course, we really want to get that off its feet. It probably will be my #1 priority, and I believe that it's well on its way. So at that, we will be going out for RFP and getting that process going. There's other infrastructure things that need to be changed. Jerry Brummer's, again, talking about another way out of the longest cul-de-sac in the world, that Juniper Canyon area. which I remember it being a place where no one wanted to live 30 years ago, where it became a wonderful place to live and a very good road system, but wasn't planned very well on how we get out there safely. Those will be things we work on, I'm afraid, a little bit slower. Some of the things I work on already are the airport. I know we are being managed by the city, but it's really a work of two, the city county. We're so fortunate to have one city in this county, and how well we work together, and how historically we did not work together as well. I can't believe how many solid things have happened really in the last 8-9 years, and I will continue working with that partnership in our city. There's a lot of small projects I've done since I've gotten here, but the very larger things, they would include our public safety, our roads, and again, on the roads, how we will continue our road system at its quality today is higher than most counties when we are being depleted of some of the dollars that we're looking ahead to lose. There will be probably an increase through our PILT, our pay in lieu of taxes through the federal folks. But I believe there will be a decrease in our secure road schools dollars. We have a $20 million reserve. But if we start looking at that as being what we use to run the day-to-day operation, we will put ourselves in a position where we cannot replace a bridge, and we cannot replace a road system that we have to replace. So again, there'll be a longer look at what that budget looks like.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so this one again is definitely a recent thing during this campaign cycle. And the media services for the city and county have been used on government, have used government resources and put campaign information on official city and county social media sites. What do you think about it? Is it legal? Is it ethical? And what are the actions that should be taken or sanctions?
I believe it's very, very dangerous to have the government or the county or city promoting any single candidate or using any part of that position to get elected. I personally try very hard to not make calls, or I do not make calls from the county about election things. I do not meet with people at the county for election things. Occasionally people will call me there because that's the only number they have. But if they do call me, I do talk to them and say, do not call the county. You know, that's for official business. I think if if somebody in the county is promoting another candidate, then they need to be gone and not work at the county anymore, because I think it is so dangerous to give a candidate, and it could be a candidate that I cared for. Even myself, I would not ever try and use any kind of county advantage to do that. So I think if that's found out, that person should be fired as quick as possible.
Thank you, Ken.
So there probably has been always in our system where someone would call and use our phone, and we try not to ever use any of those systems that are county owned for election purposes. That's an election violation. As for employees or contractors or who may give preference to one or the other, it maybe is all about what is being accomplished that day. There may be, we've had many videos, the city does, the county does, we do these things that promote what is the county's projects. Perfectly legitimate, that's what that's there for. But, we cannot cross a line. We cannot have something that becomes an ethics violation, and that's just part of this job. Honesty is the only way this thing works.
Okay, thank you very much. So stay up there, Ken. You've been in office like forever, right? You feel that way, don't you? Oh, you've been in office forever? You feel that way?
I've been in this election cycle forever.
Election cycle, for sure.
Office life goes quickly.
You're ready to go get this over with, I'm sure. I'm going to get this over tonight, so I'm sorry I'm dragging on here.
Oh, that's fine.
Listen, back to the term limits thing. You know, there's a lot of people that want to see term limits and would love to go back to the time when there was a movement of citizens through government to keep things fresh, make it fresh eye. What are your thoughts on term limits?
Well, I see the point in them. I see that there is a legitimate reason for some of these term limits. The problem I also see was with working with the Association of Counties and dealing with so many really solid people who have learned over time what it takes to do the job. I think it's a little bit different at county level than it is at the state level or at a federal level especially. They get locked into issues that are across the aisle. And that can be a problem for term limits, I believe. But in a county level, you're working on the ground. Rubber hits the road. That's our little saying. Rubber hits the road. Well, it does in everything we do. We give flu shots. We work on the highways. We're out there arresting folks if they need that, or having a ride home when they're drinking too much. There's things we do that we truly do. And as an elected official in this job, you lose the real strength, the knowledge, and the relationships it takes to do what you need to do when you go to the state level, if you take these people out early. Now, there are folks that probably need to go, and that's what the voter does. The voter looks at that and says, they're not doing their job. Now it's time for them to go. We always have a choice to do that. This last year, Yamhill County lost 2 of their 3 commissioners, and they have a term limit. It's 12 years. They run 3 terms. And it's left a void in that county that they've had a very hard time. They were solid people. They worked very hard. And we find that in 2 or 3 other things in the last 8 years that I've watched. But it's not always that easy. I just think at this level, this is where we do the work. You're losing key people if they're not really ready to go, and we don't want them to leave.
Thank you.
When you talk about term limits, I think, like it's been said tonight, that you need to weigh the information that somebody gains with years of experience and the fact that eventually somebody's going to become stagnant and not be performing their duties. So this is going to be a little bit of brevity. If I think I don't know what the answer is on time of term limits, but I think it's just a conversation that if that's something that the community wants, we need to sit down and figure out what the best way to fit Crook County is, and not take something from somewhere else and try and put it in here, but work with the people of our community and see how that works and what the best plans are.
Thanks. You know, interesting. You have more things.
So how long did it take you to feel like you were a good commissioner? You had good knowledge. Did it take a couple of years at least?
Say about 1.5 years.
Yeah, it took at least a couple, because we went through our county college training, we went through a lot of training to get us to this level. And at that point, you hit the ground with knowledge. Then you started actually the apprenticeship program, more or less, as I did. It took a while. So that first term, I believe we really need to think about that the second term, you're finally doing what you should be doing, being able to do it easily.
No question, and I think that's where you'd have to look and see what is it 1 term? I think that probably is too short. Is it 10 terms? I'm pretty sure that's too long. So I mean, you just have to look and see what's the best for our community, and maybe it's not. I mean, maybe the people in our community say we believe that elections are term limits, and if you don't get reelected, there's your limit.
Right. Yeah.
So I just think it's something that I, as a single person, should decide. I think that's something. When you look at things on the court level, or on the way that the government works in our community, you need to involve the citizens. When I first got elected, right before I got elected, the court had signed that the county court would change to a county administrator, but they did it without talking to the citizens of Crook County. They did it with a stroke of the pen, and that to me is a travesty. If somebody is going to try and change our government, they need to sit down and have a conversation with us and get our input. And so the first thing I pushed through, and I think it took me a couple months, just get your feet on the ground. But, you know, I brought it up and said, this is something that I talked about when I was campaigning, and let's get it done. And we put into ordinance that you have to have a vote of the people if you want to change the way the government runs. And to me, that's what's important, is getting the input from people, the people of Crook County, and weighing it with the information that we have and moving forward.
Dave, Ken, you want to have any more to say on that? Adam, do you want to add anything to that, or are you good?
Well, I think we, I want my
Yeah, I think we did that. We did that quickly when Seth replaced Lynn. It was important for all of us to have that, to go back to the people if it were to change. There are many counties that have administrators, and they do that usually when they hit a population change. You know, a change in number of 50, 60,000 population. Those are our averages in the state. It's 36 counties, and I don't believe there's an administrator in any less than about at least 45,000 people population. So we have a little ways to go. Our system's not perfect, but it's well within our budget, and that's probably as perfect as we want it to be right now.
Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to add just a little bit from my elected experience at the state level, at the Oregon Republican Party. We changed the wholesale leadership of the Oregon Republican Party back in 2013, I think. And one of the old-timers came up to me and said, son, you just lost the institutional knowledge of this party. It was right. It took a while to get up to speed and to know what to do. But fortunately, you know, one of the things we can do is call people. And I get, you know, Mr. Weaver, obviously that institutional knowledge is an important thing. So I think that's a tough call. So anyway, I would like your vote. If that is sufficient for any position, just kidding. So here's the.
I thought we had yet another judge candidate.
Everybody's jumping up to the mic. Okay. So this is the last question for the evening, and I promised I wouldn't do any zingers, but here it is, guys. This is a good one. Would you like to expand the growing, selling of marijuana in the county, and or limit it as much as possible? That's not a zinger, I was kidding. But go ahead, Ken.
You want me to start?
I guess, yeah.
That's a zinger. You know, the voters in this county voted to not have marijuana in this county. It was a 60-40 vote. We're fairly certain that. So we had really little problem with saying that sure enough we don't want to expand what marijuana looks like in this county. I'm afraid it's so close to us anymore, we're going to be impacted anyway, whatever we say. But I will stick with my guns. I will not want it to be expanded in Crook County. There's a need for medical marijuana, and that's what we have today, dispensary for medical marijuana. It's very hard for our public safety folks to deal with this at this time. There's not good testing on it. We don't know when you were impaired, if you've been smoking, if it's in the fatty tissue of your body 30 days. We don't know if that affects your work, or if you're a CDL driver. We don't know very much. So the word impaired is very hard. So I'm going to stick to our guns.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would choose the least amount of marijuana. The most restrictive rules here. I think our community's spoken. They were clear when they voted. And when we make decisions as a county clerk, there's only a few times, you know, we make a lot of decisions all year long, and there's only a few times that people in our community actually come and say things. I'd say Oregon Wild, Natural Resources Plan, most recently, but marijuana was one of those. And I had numerous people come up to me and really appreciated the direction that the county court decided on that. So,
thank you. Okay, closing statements. Seth, you want to go ahead? I think you started, Ken. Yes, okay, let him go first.
So, you got a choice to make here in November. And I think you got a choice between two really nice guys, two really hardworking people, and it's not an easy choice. But I think what it comes down to is leadership. Who do you see that's going to stand up, be in the community, be a leader, stand up for things like Oregon Wild, stand up to different, to not competing with the private sector, working to make Crook County a better place every day, working to make sure that we're not just having the status quo. And that's what I bring. So vote Seth Crawford for Crook County Judge if you want more than the status quo.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. This does mean a lot for all of us. Sometimes it's just tough for the candidate to stand up and be as nice as he is, but he really showed a good side tonight. No winking, nothing. No, I've been in this community all my life. I've worked hard to learn and earn your respect, and I've made it my life to just continue doing the right thing, the moral thing, the strong thing, and the knowledgeable thing in each of these departments. I can't think of a department that I don't work well with. It is a diverse job. It is more of a budget than I've ever had in my life, but you earn your way to that by the time you put in. Again, I'm 8 years in this business. We've done very well through a very hard time. This recession was the hardest I think any of us have ever seen. And today, we have money in the bank. We're helping to build a jail. We've got a new school, a new hospital. We have a new college. If you start thinking a little bit about that college, we were in old beat-up buildings for so long, and then ignored by COCC, and then through our work, a BTOC grant came along, another grant, but it made a difference, and now 400 students are taking college classes in primary. And I know that Jason, you've done well there too, and by doing that, being able to bring in other colleges on that site just makes a huge difference for our kids. So, in this short time, look at the changes that have been made. It's because of this court, it's because of individual work. I feel I've given that individual work, and I'm the right choice for a judge for Crook County. Please vote for me.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and you guys, thank you very much. Good. Yeah. So I think, as they've said, these are both good men, loved by their community. Let's just give them the best we can. Thank you.